I should have worn armor. Not metaphorically, a full, actual flak jacket. Instead, I showed up in linen, optimistic, naive. Jenna's brunch invitation arrived on cream cardstock, engraved in gold, like she was marrying success itself. I should have known better. The rooftop was blinding, sunlight bouncing off glass towers and shrimp skewers turning to ash under the July heat. The tale was all curated opulence, white florals, bottomless mimosas, and executives in tailored boredom. And Jenna, in her oversized sunglasses, looked like she'd just walked off a reality show about hostile takeovers. By the third mimosa, she leaned in, her voice syrupy, tone dipped in sarcasm. "You're too dependable to lead, Ivy," she said, crooking her head. "You'd make a perfect support system." Support system. The words slid into me like a blade dressed in compliments. I laughed the way one does when they realize the guillotine isn't decorative. Jenna grinned, clinked her glass against mine, so smug, so self-satisfied, then turned back to the conversation as if she hadn't just gutted me with a single sentence. She went on picking basil from her teeth while I sipped cucumber water like it could cool the fire building in my chest. Behind my polite nods, my mind was a tally board. Names of interns I trained who now had corner offices, the executive I coached through his first investor pitch, now earning bonuses for breathing, and of course, Jenna. Jenna Price, freshly minted COO not through talent, but through marriage. I wasn't offended because it was unexpected. I was offended because it was exactly what I saw coming. She didn't see me as a threat, just Ivy, the safe one, reliable, like unseasoned chicken, like a Honda Civic, like a woman who worked unpaid overtime for 7 years just to hand over the systems she built to someone who didn't know what half the acronyms in our project roadmap meant. I smiled and clinked back. She thought she'd insulted me subtly. She didn't realize she'd just lit a fuse. I didn't cry, didn't break, didn't even flinch. When she started rambling about fresh blood and new energy, I just stirred the ice in my drink and watched her through the rising steam of resentment. That phrase, fresh blood, always shows up before a firing, a merger, or a cousin with a philosophy degree and vape addiction getting hired. So I raised my glass, toasted her brilliance, and then handed her my 2-week notice. No speech, no drama, just a sheet of paper slid across the table, casual as a dinner mint. Her laugh faltered. "Ivy?" She blinked, looking between me and the page. "Wait, are you serious?" "As a cardiac arrest," I said, standing smoothly. "Enjoy the shrimp. Watch the basil." And just like that, I walked out. I didn't look back. You don't when you're lighting a fuse. Thursday morning. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead like nervous witnesses. I cleaned out my desk with the grace of someone building a guillotine, not packing up mementos. People thought I was winding down. Karen from marketing even gave me a tiny cactus with a post-it. "Stay sharp." I nodded, smiled, thanked her, then went back to uploading select files into a private folder called Vacation Photos. 12 gigabytes of confidential spreadsheets, HR memos, Slack threads where Jenna called our interns hot but hopeless. Things she thought she'd deleted. I wasn't stealing. I was preserving. Preserving every campaign deck I ghostwrote, every cost-cutting initiative she plastered her name on, every time-stamped correction on our annual report that transformed creative budgeting into flat-out laundering. I wasn't leaving a job. I was pulling back drywall from a termite nest. And when I finished packing up my stapler, my photos, and that goodbye succulent, I made a call. To someone who still owed me. "Claire Brenner," said the voice on the line. Divorce attorney, karaoke champion, destroyer of entitled men. Who's calling? I'm your old roommate. With a situation. It involves marriage, misconduct, and mimosas. You had me at misconduct, she replied. Talk to me. While Claire sharpened her legal claws, I began my real exit inventory. Not gum wrappers or expired cough drops, but names, dates, logins. I remembered everything. Still had access to conversations Jenna thought were long deleted. And I wasn't done collecting. I scheduled exit interviews, but not with my manager. No. I went straight to the corporate holy trinity: HR, finance, and compliance. Set in each meeting with my nicest blouse and calmest voice. I just want to leave some feedback, I said sweetly. They took notes, nodded, thought I was being professional. But I was taking notes too, because if you listen carefully, people will hand you their secrets wrapped in politeness. One compliance analyst, God bless her caffeinated soul, whispered, "It's been weird since Jenna got promoted, right?" I whispered back, "So weird," sipping chamomile like it was tea and shade in equal measure. Then came the call. My phone vibrated with a number saved under Julie's vet. Julie didn't exist. She was my imaginary cat, the vet. Dylan Price, Jenna's husband, co-founder, the golden boy. Not my type, but a decent human being in a sea of silicone smiles and performance polo shirts. Last year, when a PR disaster almost sunk us, Dylan stayed late with me. While Jenna went off-grid at a Women in Leadership retreat, I stayed behind with 2 Red Bulls and a spreadsheet that could double as a manifesto. By sunrise, the campaign was salvaged, the investor calmed. Dylan never forgot that. And I'd saved his number for a rainy day. I called it. Let it ring once. No words, just silence. He picked up, didn't speak, and I hung up. Just long enough to mean something. Controlled resolve. That's what they'd call it in a Netflix script. What it really felt like? Holding your breath while someone else walked toward a tripwire. Back at the office, Jenna was busy hosting a farewell lunch for me in the glass conference room with its fake fern and bad feng shui. The cake read, "Good luck, Ivy," spelled correctly for once, which almost felt like an insult. Junior VPs lined up to say things like, "She taught me how to export PDFs. She always had gum. She made finance sound fun." No mention of the $300K lawsuit I squashed. No shout out for the campaign I saved when Jenna's vision board tanked it. Just empty praise from people who'd be fired by Q4 and women who'd perfected the art of nodding through male mediocrity. Then Jenna took the floor. Maris has been such a dependable presence, dragging out dependable like it meant forgettable. The kind of person you can always count on, like decaf. Fake laughs. I imagine swapping her collagen powder with drywall dust. Then came the envelope. $50 gift card to Olive Garden. No message, just the receipt. "Don't be a stranger," she winked. I looked at her. "You don't even realize you're already alone," I thought. In the elevator, I pulled out my phone, recorded a short voice memo. Not for nostalgia, for evidence. 1 mimosa, 1 lie, 1 deleted report. Timestamp this. Because while Jenna handed me cheap cardstock, I'd been planting something in the system. Not malware, nothing illegal, just tracker files disguised as normal folders. If she opened them, they logged her activity. Screen captures, IPs, access times. Legal wouldn't care today, but in 6 business days, when a board member opened a whistleblower packet, oh, they'd care. I walked out of that building like someone pressing detonate with their thumb hidden in their coat pocket. Everyone thought I was being gracious. They had no idea the storm had already started.
Jenna didn't notice the tremor at first. Of course she didn't. People like her never feel the aftershocks until the ceiling cracks. They sip green juice while the foundation groans beneath them. But the earthquake had already started. I'd timed it precisely. On my last official day, Jenna received a glittering email from an anonymous sender. Subject line, FYI, might want to check this. Inside, a folder named Crisis Aversion Playbook and a single screenshot. The screenshot? An internal memo she forwarded last year, the one she edited to hide a $180,000 discretionary bonus she gave herself for morale, backdated and doctored. But this version included the revision history. Her fingerprints were all over it. Jenna stormed into IT the next morning like a blonde thundercloud. "Someone hacked my email," she barked. "Trace it." She wasn't afraid. Not yet. Just irritated. IT told her what they told everyone. It came from inside the network. Could have been a glitch. But I'd been methodical. Every file, every breadcrumb was placed like a game of Minesweeper. Just enough to explode suspicion, not proof. Jenna changed her passwords. Twice. She thought that would be enough. It never is. Meanwhile, I met Dylan. Not at some fancy bar or coffee shop. No, we met in a low-key diner just off the freeway. Vinyl booths, weak coffee, real butter. The kind of place where affairs begin in cheap novels. But ours wasn't an affair. It was an awakening. He sat across from me in a black hoodie and sunglasses, still trying to look unassuming despite the Tesla parked out front. He said, "She's been cold lately. I'm not a therapist, but I am observant." He studied me. "You left quietly." "No," I corrected him. "I left intentionally." He gave a soft chuckle. "That's what scares her." Good. A beat passed between us. Then I slid a thin manila folder across the table. "What's this?" he asked. "Your future, if you choose to stop playing her game." Inside, hard evidence of Jenna's financial missteps, performance manipulation, and one very questionable offshore expense report rooted through a non-existent charity. I didn't forge a thing. I didn't need to. She was always sloppy when she was overconfident. Dylan flipped through the pages. His fingers trembled. She used my name on these accounts." "Yeah," I nodded. "She was always going to let you take the fall if it came down to it." He looked sick. "She said it was a business consolidation strategy." "It's always a strategy until someone goes to prison." Meanwhile, at HQ, things started to unravel. My goodbye files weren't files at all. They were signals. One file led to an old Slack archive where Jenna belittled our DEI officer. Another led to voice transcriptions of meetings where she discussed terminating older staff to raise the average age curve. HR tried to delete the threads. Too late. The compliance team received a sealed envelope from an anonymous sender. Inside, a signed letter and an encrypted USB. The letter read, "This may save your reputation, or confirm it was never real to begin with. The ghost in the system." I didn't sign my name. I didn't need to. They all knew who it was. By week 2, rumors started circulating. Jenna held a team call to rebuild morale. She smiled too wide. Her voice shook once, only once, but it was enough for the sharp-eyed assistants to whisper. "We stand by our leadership values," she declared. "There's been a coordinated misinformation campaign by a disgruntled former employee. Disgruntled. That word always shows up. They don't use it when men do this. When men blow whistles, they're principled, courageous. But when a woman fights back, she's emotional, difficult, disgruntled. I watched her video recording on mute while eating noodles in my studio apartment. I knew she'd start sweating by next week because I hadn't even pulled the lever yet. The lever came in the form of an executive ethics review panel. Anonymous tips had piled too high to ignore. Jenna couldn't plug all the leaks, especially not when one came from Dylan himself. I didn't force him. I just gave him a choice: sink with her or swim toward decency. He chose the latter. In his deposition, he disclosed misuse of corporate funds, falsified marketing metrics, and a secret severance package paid to a junior analyst who resigned after Jenna cornered him during a retreat in Aspen. That severance? Signed with Dylan's name. He didn't know until I showed him. He nearly threw up on the sidewalk. 3 days later, the board launched a full audit. Jenna called me. I let it ring. Then I picked up. "Ivy," she said, no preamble. Her voice was flat, tense, already bruising. "Did you do something?" I replied, filing my nails slowly. "You're behind this," she said. "I know you are." "That's funny," I said lightly. "I thought you told everyone I wasn't a leader. Just a dependable assistant, remember? I don't think I'd have the capacity for something this strategic." Silence. "You're going to ruin everything," she whispered. "No," I said. "You already did that. I'm just shining a light." More silence. Then she hung up. No threat, no apology, just fear. Finally. Days passed. One by one, her allies vanished. PR stopped returning her emails, marketing distanced themselves, legal went radio silent. And then the email came. Subject line: RE termination of contractual obligations. Jenna Price was asked to step down. The statement was all corporate fluff. "We thank Jenna for her service. She remains an integral part of our history." But we all knew what it meant. The queen was dethroned. And no one wept. I went to the office one last time. Not as staff, not even a guest. I was invited. By the board. Consultant, they called me. I walked in wearing a navy suit Jenna once told me was too masculine. My heels clicked like punctuation. The receptionist looked up startled. "Ms. Lane?" "That's right." "I thought you left?" I smiled. "Oh, I did." Upstairs, they handed me a non-disclosure agreement. I slid it back. "No need. I'm not here to leak. I'm here to rebuild what she broke." And I meant it. Revenge isn't about destruction. It's about justice. About proving your worth, not in rage, but in restoration. As I walked back to the elevator, I passed Jenna's old office. It was already cleared out. The nameplate gone. In its place was a single post-it. Written in familiar handwriting, 4 words. "She warned you. Ivy." I stared at it, smiled, and walked on. 6 weeks after Jenna's fall, I stood in the same conference room where I once took coffee orders and scribbled notes no one read. Only now, they waited for me to speak. The board had asked me to advise on restructuring the company's leadership culture. What they really meant was help us scrub away her stain without burning down the building. I didn't say yes right away. Not out of pride, out of principle. "Your culture isn't broken because of one woman," I told them. "It's broken because she was allowed to thrive, because silence was rewarded, because fear dressed itself up as vision."
One of the directors, a silver-haired man who once told me I smiled too much for a strategist, cleared his throat awkwardly. "Ivy, we're offering you real authority here, VP level." I leaned back in my chair. "What's the budget for ethics training?" I asked. They blinked. Then one muttered, "We hadn't quite gotten that far." I pushed my chair back and stood. "Call me when you do." And I walked out. I didn't leave out of spite. I left with a purpose. Some fires aren't meant to be put out with water. Some you let burn so something better can grow in the ashes. 2 months later, Jenna resurfaced. Sort of. She gave an interview to a mid-tier business podcast. Not video, just audio. Her voice sounded brittle, like she hadn't slept in weeks. They asked her what happened. She said, "There was a betrayal. I trusted someone small, someone I built, and she turned on me." Built. That word made my stomach twist. She didn't build me. She used me, like a ladder, like scaffolding. Temporary support, replaceable. She continued, "I tried to lead. I tried to be visionary. But some people only see ambition as arrogance when it comes from a woman." That was her angle. Victimhood in heels. She wasn't the villain. She was misunderstood. Unfairly attacked. Sabotaged. It would have been laughable if it wasn't painfully common. But I didn't clap back. I didn't release statements or subtweet or send anonymous tips. I didn't need to, because she was already fading. And I had already risen. I launched my own firm 6 months later, Echo Strategies, named not after revenge, but resonance. Because real strategy doesn't shout. It echoes, long after the noise fades. We didn't promise flashy growth charts or unicorn dreams. We promised ethical guidance, sustainable leadership, and workplaces that didn't eat people alive. In year 1, we landed 3 clients Jenna had once called low-value accounts. In year 2, one of them made Forbes' best places to work list. By year 3, Echo Strategies was the fastest-growing ethics-led consultancy in the country. And the emails started coming. From assistants, from analysts, from women like me. "I saw what you did. Thank you." I left. I started over. You reminded me I'm not crazy. That was my real reward. Not the title, not the revenue, the ripple effect. I hadn't seen Dylan since the deposition. He vanished, quietly. Word was he moved to Portland, started working for a nonprofit that helped small businesses develop ethical frameworks. Poetic, really. Then one day I got a package, no return address. Inside was a simple note. It read, "She kept me caged. You opened the door. I didn't say thank you when I should have, so here it is. D." Tucked beneath the note was a small bronze sculpture of a bird mid-flight. It sat on my desk from that day on. Years later, I was invited to speak at a leadership summit in London. The panel was titled, "Rebuilding Trust After Toxic Leadership." I told my story. Not with bitterness, but with truth. I talked about what it means to be overlooked, to be dismissed, to be underestimated, and what it feels like to fight back without becoming the very thing you hate. Afterward, a young woman approached me, early 20s, nervous hands, intelligent eyes. She asked me, "How did you not break when they all treated you like you were invisible?" I smiled. I told her, I did break, but not all the way. Just enough to rebuild myself stronger. She exhaled, as if she had been holding her breath her whole career.
One night, months later, I got a message from someone I hadn't heard from in years. It was from her. Jenna. The message was short. Just 4 words. Was it worth it? I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed my reply. Every single second. Then I blocked her. Not out of anger, but out of peace. I stood in the boardroom of one of my client companies. A young woman was presenting a proposal. She stammered once, flushed with embarrassment, a few smirks from the corner. I locked eyes with her. Nodded. Just once. She straightened, kept going, finished strong. Afterward, I found her in the hallway. "You were brilliant," I said. She blinked at me. "You think so?" "I know so." She smiled, and in that moment, I saw myself, not the woman I had to become to survive, but the woman I could have been if someone had done the same for me. The cycle ends with us, not in flames, but in echoes.